Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James, the channel that brings you your team every single day, guys, regardless of what day it is, regardless of whether it's the season or not. We're here for you, always here for you. So please obviously smash the sub, ring that notification bell, drop a like on the video, do all that great stuff for me. Well, it is another weekend of Scottish Premier League action, and Rangers are in action on Sunday at 5 p.m. against Hearts. And another weird kickoff time on a Sunday and 5 p.m. I mean, it's another very weird one, isn't it? I mean, 8 o'clock was weird, very weird. Now 5 p.m. I mean, even English games kick off, what, 4:30 at the very latest now on Sky. There's a lot of 2 o'clocks, lunchtime kickoffs as well. Very weird, isn't it? That it's perhaps it's because we're travelling back from Greece. Perhaps it's want to give the team a chance to get back. I don't know what the theory behind it is, but 5 o'clock on a Sunday does seem an odd time to play a football match. Although we do play games in England at 5 o'clock on a Saturday, so I don't know. Anyway, who am I to cast aspersions on that? I'm sure it's got something to do with Sky Television or somebody on TV rather than anything else. Let's face it, TV does run football these days, doesn't it, whether we like it or not. I think we like to think that us fans going through the turnstiles are the thing that runs football, but I think in reality it is the television stations and people watching at home that are having a decisive influence over when football matches take part, rightly or wrongly. You have your own views on that. I'm very sure on that. Right, look, the game on Sunday, there's a lot of talk, isn't there? There's a lot of talk. Who's going to play, who's going to start, how much does Clement change his team from Thursday night against Olympiacos. I mean, I was listening to some of the interviews that were given post-game by the Olympiacos players and the Olympiacos coach. No, I don't speak Greek or Spanish. It was, in English translations. And they were all full of praise for Philippe Clement and his tactical nous, his ability to read their game, to set up for their game and nullify their attacking players. They all spoke very favourably of what Rangers had done, the manager in particular, heaping praise on his counterpart for the way that Clement had set up his Rangers team to counteract the threat of Olympiacos. So, look, maybe Clement is starting to learn. I'm not saying that, that he is all is forgiven now, Philippe. I'm not saying that for a minute. But what I am saying is, look, we need to see a step forward. We need to see a continued step forward. And yes, it is great to get it right in Europe. Of course, it is fantastic to get it right in the Europa League. Obviously, we want to advance in Europe. Of course we do. Rangers have a proud tradition, don't they, in Europe? But domestically, it is where we need to be more successful. Domestically, we need to see a better product. Domestically, we need to see a better set of results because, let's face it, at the end of the day, winning trophies in Scotland is what we need to do on a more regular basis. Now, one of the players who was rotated on Thursday, depending on which camp you're in or what you read or what you interpret from what you read, was James Tavernier, club captain. Whether he should be club captain again or not is again another big debate within the fan base. I think you've obviously still got the Tav fanboys who love him no matter what, or no matter how bad he is. And you've got the more realists out there that kind of see Tav for what he is now, a fallen genius, a fallen player, a player who has badly regressed over the last couple of seasons. And since I think the Europa League final has gone backwards at a rapid rate of knots. So much so that I don't think he is as effective anymore as he used to be. I mean, certainly his figures and stats from this season are probably not as effective as they were at this stage of last season. 4 appearances in the Europa League, no goals, no assists. 10 appearances in the Premiership, no goals, 2 assists. Now, you might, of course, the cynic in you might say, well, that's because we haven't had many penalties. Yeah, that's a debate for. I don't particularly want to get into the James Tavernier only scores penalties debate, even though the vast majority of his goals have been penalties. If you take all his penalties off him, his total doesn't look quite as impressive. League Cup, 3 appearances, 1 goal, which was, funnily enough, a penalty, and 1 assist. Champions League qualifier, 2 appearances, and no effect on the scoreline. So overall this season, 19 appearances, 1 goal, 3 assists. Certainly, massively down on what you would normally expect from James Tavernier, a goal or assist every 1,503 minutes. Certainly not as impressive as he has been in the past. I think it's very fair to say that, playing wise, no matter what you think of him as a person or as a footballer, he has struggled this season, very, very badly struggled. And, listening to Derek Ferguson speak on a podcast recently, Derek Ferguson absolutely slaughtered James Tavernier, absolutely ripped him a new one really calling out the Rangers captain for his jogging back and his walking back. He's looking like he couldn't give a stuff kind of, response at times to when he's been beaten or when people are attacking. I mean, I remember an incident where I think it was Tom Lawrence even outpaces him. Now, Tom Lawrence is not the fastest person on two legs in the world, and Tom Lawrence actually runs past James Tavernier whilst chasing back to try and tackle someone. And how remarkable that your number 10, a player who's supposed to be up the field causing trouble, is the man who gets back before your captain, who's supposed to be playing right back and shows more desire than your captain to get back and to tackle. Now, Philippe Clement was asked about his reasoning behind not starting with James Tavernier. Obviously, Tavernier has been a major part of this Rangers team for a long time now. And he talked very much about the fact that it was, in his opinion, a rotation and that Tav cannot play every game anymore, as he said at the start of the season. And he's starting to show that, that is the case. He talked about that. Now, he said that Tav has still a part to play. He said that it's not about ego, it's about the team, which is a very interesting comment for him to make. He's saying it's not about ego, it's about the team. I know there's certainly some of us in the fan media environment who have suggested that James Tavernier is one of the biggest egos at the club, and certainly to some people is bigger than the club. I think there are a minority within the fan base, the Tav fanboys as they're often referred to, or fangirls, who, in my opinion, say that in my opinion believe that James Tavernier is bigger than the club, that it is Tav FC and not Rangers FC. I think that's a load of rubbish. Personally, I think that's an absolute load of crap. We all know that this is Rangers. This is one of the biggest clubs in the world. So look, there we go. Now, I think what was interesting for me, though, was the fact that Dujon Sterling was removed after 52 minutes. Many people questioning that substitution, saying, well, why make that substitution when Dujon was playing so well? And he was playing very well indeed. He looked better than Tav going backwards, just as good as Tav going forwards. Certainly quicker, certainly more aggressive. I think certainly a better footballer at this stage, in his career. However, at 52 minutes, he was taken off. Now, this is obviously coming on the top of the fact that I think, if you've got a slightly short memory, Philippe Clement did talk pre-match about the fact that, that Dujon isn't ready to play 90 minutes. And I think that was kind of the reasoning to take him off. Now, he was taken off, and surprisingly, it was not James Tavernier that was brought on. Tav was brought on, but it was a lot later in the game. It was actually Neresheyu Casanwejo who was brought on instead of James Tavernier. Now, that's a very interesting move. I think, if it was all about Tav, if, this was a proper rotation and that Tav was still, the man, why would he bring Cass on ahead of Tav? Interesting one, that one. Very interesting. I'm not saying, I might be putting 2 and 2 together here and getting 5. Of course, I understand that. But, I think in Dujon and Cass, we have 2 players. Cass can play centre-back as well, very well indeed. And I think a lot of people were surprised to see Proper start ahead of Cass, given how bad Proper's been this season. But I think in Dujon Sterling and Cass, we have 2 very, very able right-backs. In fact, obviously, 2 players who I believe are actually better defensive right-backs than James Tavernier. Definitely at this present moment in time, better footballers than James Tavernier, and certainly offer more to the team defensively and to some degree going forward than James Tavernier offers at this moment in time. So, look, for me, if I was putting a depth chart together, this is a very American thing to do, I would have James Tavernier as the 3rd right back on this depth chart behind Sterling and Cass. I'd certainly put them 1 and 2, or even 1A, 1B, given how good they both are. And certainly Dujon, when he's played at right back in recent times, has not let the team down in the slightest. He's looked very, very good indeed. He's big, he's physical, he's quick, he's strong. He tracks back. He doesn't just jog back like he can't be arsed. He looks an all-round top player. And Cass very much the same as well. So, look, I firmly believe that for me, for the rest of the season, you need to see it right back, a rotation between Dujon and Cass, not a rotation with Tav at all. Realistically, I would actually prefer if we did not see Tav again this season. Fine having him on the bench and coming on as an emergency. But look, realistically, we don't need him. We genuinely do not need him. We look better Thursday night without him. look, we all have our own opinions on James Tavernier, and you certainly, I think, 55 and then the Europa League run, he was a very good footballer. I'm not going to say outstanding or great. He was a very good footballer. That's all he is. He's a very good footballer. He's a player that even at the height of 55, even the height of the Europa League, wouldn't have got into any of the English Premier League teams. So I do believe that, as well, he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. I'm not going to get into this argument of he should never be there, he should be there, whatever. What I mean is that at this stage, when he is still playing, no player should be in the Hall of Fame whilst they're still playing. In the NFL in America, in the NHL as well, in the MLB, Major League Baseball, they have a rule about going into halls of fame that you have to be retired between 3 and 5 years, depending on the sport, before you're even eligible to go in. And I honestly believe that players who are still playing shouldn't be eligible for Rangers Hall of Fame. You should have been retired for a good couple of years before you're allowed to be put into the Hall of Fame. So, I mean, that's another argument for another day. But, could this realistically, genuinely be the end of James Tavernier? Look, realistically, no. I mean, as much as we might want it to be, and as much as, footballing common sense should dictate that this is the end of James Tavernier, that we do not see him again this season because we don't need him. He's not a leader. His numbers are way down this season. Dujon Sterling and Narasheyo Kashinwirjo can do just as good a job as him, if not better than him. So, look, I mean, my personal preference is that we don't see him again this season. If we ever saw him in a Rangers shirt ever again, it'd be too soon for me. But that's my own personal opinion. But that's based not on, hating Tav or hating him as a person. It's based on his footballing ability and the fact that his footballing ability is way, way down than what it used to be. And that Dujon and Kashinwirjo are both technically and, tactically very much better, stronger, fitter, quicker than Tav as well. So, much better options in these high pressure games that we're going to have coming up, especially when we, look at European games and we look at the cup final against Celtic in December, for example. So look, that's where I'm up to. That's where I'm at. Let me know what you think. I've had a little think. This is my team, Rangers team 1.0 for the game on Sunday. I firmly believe that Tav should not play. I firmly believe that Tav will play and that Clement will make the biggest mistake of his life again. But Sterling, for me, has to start a right back. Suter and Balogun back in central defence together. I think Big Leon needs to come back in. Big Leon domestically is very, very good indeed. Yefte at left back. Barron and Raskin, you cannot take those two apart. Those two are little pit bulls. They are like, vicious Rottweilers in front of the back four. For me, they've got to play. Diamonde in the 10 role. I mean, another possibility for me would be to put Hadji in the 10 role. That's another possibility, but I don't think we'll see that. Cherny right, Barami left, and I want to see Danilo start. Look, I know that Cyril Dessers scored on Thursday night, and it was a good goal, don't get me wrong, but he misses a lot of chances, and he misses 2-3 big chances on Thursday night that could have won us the game, and he is so undependable. So for me, Danilo has to start. And Danilo, when he came on against Motherwell in that semi-final, looked by far the better striker. His movement was so much better. His touch was so much better. He just looks a better footballer all around. So that's why I would start with Danilo on Sunday ahead of Cyril Dessers. I mean, to be honest with you, I'd start with Broxy Bear up front ahead of Cyril Dessers, but that's just my personal opinion. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. How would you like to see us line up on Sunday against Hearts? Well, thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. As always, been an absolute pleasure to speak to you here on the channel. On the way out, if you can smash the sub, smash the like, drop a comment, do a share, all that great stuff, all helps the channel, so please do it. Thank you for watching. Remember always, we are the people.